All right, let's take a look at the Fantasy League One scoreboard. After a week 13, the FaZe clan, of course, takes the top spot, knocking off Team AEW, who at one point this season, they were 5-4.
They're 5-9
now.
Their team is so loaded, though.
Such a good team,
so
the
loaded.
fantasy. But you know what? They outscored the fantasy footballers, so we appreciate that. MG, the B team, look at you guys. That's a battle of desk mates. I don't know if you're desk mates or desk neighbors.
It's more like we're just adjacent to each other.
It's time for a little Fantasy 101. This is actually one of our favorite subjects.
Ooh.
You know, we like to take a time, even though it's during the playoffs, to have a teachable moment to kind of teach some kids.
I feel like you're
some people.
constantly teaching us, Adam.
I
Life lessons
was
over
on
here.
Sunday.
Life's lessons right here.
But what about you, Graham? You talked about this heading into the show. How do you prepare for the playoffs? What should people be doing right now?
Sure. One thing is just don't overthink, don't overthink your studs, obviously. But another one is play the matchups right. And this week, Melvin Gordon has a great
Graham,
matchup.
just play your matchups right because we can predict that.
Well, I mean, you kind of can to a certain extent. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Erica's salty over there.
Just play your matchups correctly. Like, you don't think I've been doing that, trying to do that every week?
Right.
It's definitely a lot easier, and it's easier said than done. But this week, I mean,
look at the guy that's gonna probably get more points. You should probably play him instead of the other one. Okay.
So you're saying
true.
Melvin Gordon against the Jags?
I'm done.
True, but there are certain teams you can continue to attack, and the Jaguars are one of them. Their run defense has really struggled over the last 8 weeks. They're giving up over 6 yards per carry, and this is just another great spot for Melvin Gordon. He's got 17 or more touches now in 4 straight games. He's been inserted as the Chargers lead back again with Austin Eckler, basically just playing passing downs. And Erica, I know matchups can be super frustrating, but this is just a really
What if
it's
you
a
don't
really
have
good spot.
Melvin Gordon?
Yeah.
You could have
So
somebody,
then what?
You could have somebody like PHILLIP Lindsay, who's got a great matchup this week against the Houston Texans. And
Love this 101. Play Melvin Gordon.
Well, you know
I
what?
don't have him.
Well, a lot of people don't know. Well, actually, it's kind of easy
So
to
what
tell.
am I supposed to do?
If you go to the all-new NFL Fantasy app, I have Royce Freeman, for instance. His matchup against the Houston Texans is lit up in green, which means go. Give this a start. And that's one of the things, that's why I'm playing PHILLIP Lindsay this week in a number of leagues as well, is because that matchup against the Houston Texans is highly favorable. And again, when you're coming down to your decisions.
I like that.
Now, obviously, you have guys like Christian McCaffrey, who we talked about a moment before, who are automatic, but sometimes you have to make that decision. We get it on Twitter, Instagram all the time. Should I play PHILLIP Lindsay? Should I play Benny Snell? Well, one thing you can go do is go look at the matchup. If it's in green, that's one way you can lean.
That's a good point. And if you also dig a little bit deeper, like if you just click the player card in the app and then just there's a little square button, they'll have even more stats of it'll be like pass defense rating, run defense rating. There's also some good stuff in there that way too.
And there's
That's
a
really
quarterback
helpful, guys.
and there's a quarterback that has a pretty good matchup this week, right?
Yeah,
With
there
the
is.
Seattle Seahawks?
There is.
Russell
Russell Wilson.
yeah.
Jinx. So Russell Wilson against against the Rams in Week 5, he got 29.92 points. He got 25.36 fantasy points per game in the last 3 games versus the Rams. I know he, did okay last night. Not as great as Russell Wilson has done in the past, but I think that against the Rams, he is a super favorable matchup.
By the way, that sound you heard, appreciate Taylor. I couldn't put my hand
I just want to get
down.
into the playoffs, okay? I'm doing whatever it takes.
I was there, yeah. I was covered over the B-roll like this was Fantasy Live or something, but we appreciate, oh no, I love that show. I have to say though, that Russell Wilson, I do. Yeah, you should watch it. And so, obviously Russell Wilson probably not available right now.
Yeah.
Who is a quarterback who is available who could have
Devlin, the Duck, Hodges.
Quack, quack.
He is somebody that you should go pick up off the waiver wire. I'm sure he is available. He is
Almost
coming
positive.
off a career game, which isn't saying much, but he had 212 passing yards. The Steelers are on a team that's on the up and up right now. They look better than they've looked in a long time. His connection with James Washington is unbelievable. And as I learned last week, you cannot go against a quarterback that's playing the Cardinals. They have given up the most passing touchdowns to quarterbacks this year, passing yards per game to quarterbacks this year, and fantasy points per game to quarterbacks
So what if
this
you
year.
have like a
Just
Dak?
like Jared
What if you
Goff,
have
and I
a
played him
Russell
last
Wilson?
week. That's how I beat Adam.
Do you
just
think
FYI.
that playing the Duck?
I would no,
The
no,
Duck?
I think
Russell-
you have to. I think
there were
you have
certain-
to play Devlin Duck Hodges this week against that Cardinals team.
You do, yes. You're trying
over
to
to
chase,
anybody?
you're
How
chasing the
does
cardinal there, but
How does one get the nickname Duck? That's what I want to know.
because he's
It's
duck
the
hunter.
duck.
Because he used to throw a lot of ducks, and now he's throwing dimes.
Yeah, he and his guy James Washington, they went duck hunting together. That's how they got the chemistry
I
this
did
week.
see that.
Really?
Yeah, they did.
That's
They
what
went
it
duck
is.
hunting?
By the way,
Actual-
Well, you would think
Meta,
that he would
don't
have
you
had it
think?
with Mason Rudolph, considering he and
It's-
Mason Rudolph went to school together, but it's the duck.
But Mason's not good at playing quarterback on the
Adam, we
NFL
should go
level.
duck hunting together.
We should. That'd be fun. But to answer your question about Russell, there's certain quarterbacks I don't think you would ever bench. Russell Wilson being one of them, Lamar Jackson being one of them.
Drew
But if you've been-
Brees even?
Drew Brees is in that mix, but there are quarterbacks that are streamable
That's an
every
angle,
week. Some
huh?
people, hey everybody. There's people like if you've been playing.
That's something new.
If you picked up Ryan Tannehill last week, or you picked up Sam.
Don't
Tannehill's got a
ever
good
do
matchup.
this again.
Yes, do
Turn
this
it
matchup.
off. Get out of
Do this
here.
matchup.
No,
Hello.
switch
Hey, everybody. That's such a.
this.
That
This
could have
is.
been a Christmas card.
All right, do it again.
That's
So
funny.
yeah. So what were you saying?
You know what I was going to say? Obviously, if you had streamed a quarterback like Sam Darnold last
Darnold.
week, maybe Duck would be a pretty good option for you this week
The
because
Duck.
of that matchup.
I feel
know
excluded.
Taylor's going to be chasing the Cardinals every week now.
Every
Chasing
week,
the
just
Cardinals.
chasing those Cardinals.
now that she's gotten a taste of it from Jared Goff, she's like, who's playing
Like
the
Tyler
Cardinals?
said.
I got to start him.
Well, how can
I
you
gotta
not?
start it. How
The
can you not?
most-
I'm gonna stay over
every
here.
category.
Well, I'm
They're
starting
giving up
Lamar
the most
Jackson.
points,
That's how I'm
passing
not.
touchdowns.
What about handcuffs, though?
Sure.
What's a handcuff in
Sure.
fantasy football terms?
Well, it was just like what
Yeah,
we saw.
I thought there was some typo last night when I read that. I was like, ooh, things are getting feisty on Fantasy League One. What's going on here?
Cop cars.
Not that feisty. I mean, it's just fantasy football. Yeah, but a handcuff is what we saw last night. Dalvin Cook gets hurt, and Alex Mattison comes into the game and starts, balling out as the lead running back as the
Is that
Vikings.
a category on match?
What? Handcuffs?
What a callback to the Monday. What a callback to the Monday show. But yes, matchups or handcuff matchups. You Gilligan. Handcuffs are basically the backup for a player. And I actually will start with the guy who also played last night. Rashad Penny is the backup to Chris Carson, and even over the last couple of weeks has had standalone value as somebody that you can rely on. And it was a huge shock to me that the fantasy footballers were allowing Rashad Penny just to hang out on the waiver wire. And I said, well, guys, I'm going to have to go and pick him up. And now, when the playoffs start in 2 weeks, and I know they start this week too, I'm going to probably have to consider
Of course.
starting him.
I had Penny on my bench for like 9 weeks, and he was just total dust, and then you pick him up, and now he actually has value. Of course.
Now he's the guy. What about the Colts? Who's the handcuff that you want there?
You know, there really isn't one because the Colts' backfield is so terrible.
It is
the
terrible.
truth.
It is. But I
But
love.
they pulled video of Jonathan Williams. Can you talk about
Of course. So yeah, actually, Jonathan Williams, they pulled him the entire second half. As you can see, he wasn't. He originally was probably going to play for Mac, but Jordan Wilkins took 44% of the snaps. Him and Hines will probably split. I have no idea. Jonathan Williams.
Naheem Hines gets a goal line look. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
and
that's
it's like
cool.
he gets a touchdown.
It's
and
like his
that's
first goal line look all year.
ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I just think that if you can stay away from the Colts, God.
And Graham, you were talking about him a moment ago, Alexander Mattison. If you have Dalvin Cook, this has to be your first pickup on the waiver wire.
Even if you
correct?
don't have Dalvin Cook, I think he's like one of the top waiver wire claims because if Cook goes down or has some sort of setback with this shoulder injury, Madison will be a league winner in this Vikings offense because they don't really have anybody else to
Madison
go
looked
to.
really good last night.
He's looked,
too.
yeah,
He's looked great all season.
He's looked
actually.
really good all year. Looked very explosive in this Vikings outside zone run scheme, and if Cook does go down one more time, Madison will be that guy. I think not only is he like one of the top waiver wire claims this week, maybe Darwin Thompson's a better claim. He's easily the number one handcuff.
Yeah, Darwin Thompson in Kansas City. I'm looking right now. Oh my gosh, I had the same thing you did with Rashad Penny. I had Alexander Mattison forever.
I remember, you talking about
And,
it.
I talked about it all the time. I was over at Dunkin' Donuts throwing down, a bear claw.
Throwing down munchkins.
Yeah, the Munchkins are delightful. What about you, Taylor?
I'm going to go with, I have Ezekiel Elliott obviously on my
Okay.
team. I'm going to go with Tony Pollard. The one thing I don't love, I think Pollard is great, and I think he is somebody that you should handcuff if you have Ezekiel Elliott with Pollard. But one thing I don't like about the Cowboys offense right now is that they just aren't giving their running backs that much volume. I feel like if the running back like Ezekiel Elliott, he should be having explosive games, putting up huge points every single week, and he's just not. I don't know if it's the play calling. I don't know really what the deal is there, except you would think that when you have a strong running back like Ezekiel Elliott, you would be giving him way more volume and targets, and they're just not.
Yeah, it's been a baffling situation there with Dallas. We thought that Kellen Moore was a revelation.
I wonder if Jason Garrett's just kind of like taken back over some of the play calling duties.
He might have
trying to prove something and then just.
You should go
But if you're taking over the play calling duties, give it to Ezekiel Elliott.
You're absolutely
Control
right.
the clock, give it to Ezekiel.